And we are going live. Let me see. I'm just going live on Read AI is coming up. So what's going on here? Hang on. Shannon has added, so Shannon is here. Okay, and amazing. Welcome, ladies. Welcome, welcome. Oh, so we continue. I don't know. I saw Shannon coming in. I don't know where she had at. Hey, Emmanuel, could join? Remove this. We're supposed also to go live here. Hang on, what's going on? Continue. So as you're settling in, I would like to know what your expectation are for our 2 days together. So just signing up. So let me know in the chat, like we're diving in to be a fearless and abundance leader. I'm curious, what questions do you have? Let's use the chat as we go along. So, all right, ladies, welcome. I'm sure more will join. Welcome to the Fearless and Abundance training. Let me just push me here. A training that is really coming from my heart. Because what if, just imagine, what if you allowed it yourself to be so fearless so that you could show up and be you in any meeting? How would that be? What conversations would you have? What question would you ask? And most importantly, hey, Shannon, welcome. And then when you can, Russ and Emmanuel, it would be great to have a camera on as well. But most importantly, what would it mean, or how would you feel if you showed up each and every day without fears? Because let's face it, if we, there's this pole. Either we act on fear or we act in faith and in love. It's either or. And most of how we show up today, because we haven't learned to build a relationship with ourselves and really feel so worthy to just be us, just be you, then we act on fear. Fear of not being good enough, fear of not being liked, fear of being rejected, fear of being alone, fear of being lonely. There's so many fears. And now those fears, our C-suite, guy or girl, man, woman, also vibrate on. And we happen, not because we haven't allowed it ourselves to, we haven't been taught, let me put it like that, or that way. We haven't been taught in school to just show up as who we are then we've been taught to give away power, giving power to other people, to titles, to authorities. And that's what this 2 days together is about, to shifting those belief systems, to helping you claim back your power, your authenticity, so that you can show up in each and every meeting as who you are. I have so much on our 2 days together. But in essence, this is designed to help you step into that next version of you. So today, it's built around some concepts, some insights. I'm going to share my backstory. And we're really diving, for me, we're diving really deep. And I hope you will join me in this and also answer questions, because that's the best way to know where you are and how that resonates and what fear shows up. And if you say, I cannot connect with fears, I'm really curious about that as well. Tomorrow, we are having a client spotlight from our community. We have an amazing meditation coming up, and we have more teaching. So it's really, really powerful. And I know someone said that they couldn't join. We're supposed to be 10 in this group. I capped it to 10. But let's see how many people show up. If you know someone who a best friend of yours, a colleague, who you know is ready to connect with herself, then invite her in as well. But I want to start off with my own story, and it may be a bit messy. I also had a very deep fire chat conversation this morning, also about fears, also about inner work. So there's a lot of cooking in my head right now. But let's start up. So I think most of my career, my corporate life, I've been serving leaders who played with their power the wrong way. And I've been taught from home, don't cry, just show up, just do the work. And that's how we've been taught. And it really hit home. I started the book, The Conversations with God. And it really hit me the other day where we talked, this book again says it's a fear-based love reality. It depends on what we believe to be true. And your belief system is formed by your parents mostly, and then your teachers, and then your spouse, and then corporate. And if we haven't learned to really own our own life, be so proud of who we are and design that as per our terms, then we're living our life of someone else's terms. And I was taught to just show up and do the work. And my models were my parents. My mom indeed were working really hard. She worked hard for the money, and I learned always to work hard for the money. But going back to being the fearless versus the fearful, I always learned to play small. I always learned to play small. And even though I felt the sensation in my body was that, how come that I should just show up and obey? I just did it, but I could feel it was clashing against, now I know my values. So I really struggled to show up and being authentic. And when I chose to embark on create my first company back in 2016, I joined a company of consultants, advisors, and I once again experienced just be there, just serve, do whatever they want, where I actually knew that I knew much better. But I was not supposed to ask those questions. And now we know better. those of you in here now, you're in my tribe. Now we know that that's not really the way of serving. But it felt so wrong that I should conform to other people's standards just to make money. And at that point in time, I really felt I was a cash cow. And I didn't like that feeling. I didn't like how I showed up. I didn't like how I served. But I did it because out of fear of not having a job. What if? And I was trained not to go against the clients, not to ask any thought-provoking questions, just do what the clients did. But in consequences, and I did a very short video on LinkedIn earlier today, but the consequences of not showing up and honoring myself. And for you as well, I'm really curious about the consequences that you see or experience as I share mine. It was migraine every Saturday. I had pain in my jaws. And I was so proud of myself compressing 60 hours in 4 days and thought that was success. Woo-hoo! But maybe I made 7-figure. But I mean, if we're going to do work life, and life is that way to do life. But I was really empty. And I just asked myself, what if I allowed myself to show up and truly serve? And how would it look like? How would it feel like? Who can I mirror? I had no one in my network who showed up just to serve. But I took that bold step in, I think, 2019 and 2020 to say, enough is enough. I came to that realization when I've been in that corporate world where I was an advisor, where I saw people, and I experienced it in my own body, people with strong voices. And I was just about to say a word, and I don't want to say that word. But they were liking, do we say it in English? They were liking upwards. And it was only deliverables, only that what mattered. And we got like C-suite, fast-track strategic projects, and we would deliver and deliver. But these strong voices, they were only, that was my interpretation. I was really just going out there and showcase that they were so good at delivering. I experienced on my own body that I dimmed my light because of the strong voices. And I seen firsthand, that's where it really said there's something wrong in how we lead, is that I call it people feel like flies. They would come in 8:30 in the morning and collapse. And I also said, leadership has to be done in a different way. Why is it that only the stronger voices win? When we cannot really love and really endorse those people who are on our teams, really from the authentic standpoint, not just that we say it, but we actually also mean it and we own it. So I took do we call that in English? The cold turkey, I think you call that, right? It completely deplugged from corporate for a year because I had to reconnect with myself. How do I show up and be so authentic and talk about some of these things that I experienced, but from a observant and experimental perspective? And as I started to talk about that, I just realized how many women, I think also men, but women are better at talking about that, actually experience operating from a fear-based perspective rather from a fearless perspective. And when we operate from a fearless perspective, we have freedom. We operate from love. We come from authenticity. But when we come from a fear-based perspective, we are not us. We don't connect with our soul's calling. We are not authentic because we are always focused on serving someone else's goals. And it was just really a clash. And I said, all right, now let's see how we can actually learn to be that fearless and abundant leader. That deep down we are all, I think, we all want to become. We all want to be us. We all want to be us without the mask. And as I started to tear off my mask, I hadn't realized how many masks I actually had. So we're starting to peeling off those masks. What happened was that I went from migraine to no migraine. I went from flat hair to curly hair every morning. I went from being happy in my face, my vibration, like from having no shining bright and no energy in my face, to just feeling that, allowing myself to be happy, even though maybe someone else is struggling, right, or having a hard time. I allowed it myself and I learned myself to be happy. And what happened is that then my daughter is happier. I can serve wholeheartedly because I don't, hold the space here. I don't really care I care too much to serve you than if you say no. I am detached from the result, and I'm so attached because I love setting other people up for success. And I love setting people up for success all the time from a very young age. The biggest gift in tapping and allowing myself to be fearless is that of connecting with freedom and be spontaneous and going from the head to the heart. And there's so much stress is leaving my body. And that's what this is all about. I'm so curious to understand how you connect with that, because there is this journey of, even though we say I'm not fearful, but there is something, because otherwise, and I heard someone else talk about this the other day, then we would say, all day is a vacation. We are happy 24/7. If we say we are happy 24/7, we come from the place of abundance leading, come from the place of being fearless, just here to serve. But most people are not happy 24/7. There's always something to complain about. That is what we're creating this space, to tackle whatever fear there is, so that, and that's what I said, this has the potential to shift in the moment when you start to slow down and connect with the fear behind the fear. And what this book by Neil Walsh talk about, he talked about the sponsoring thought. Is that the question behind the question, the thought behind the thought, the fear behind the fear? What is that fear really? And if it's fear-based, let's see how true that fear is. And that's where the ego shows up. So I wanted to share this because, as Shakespeare said, something is wrong in the state of Denmark. It's like when we have this poker face, right? And we all say, I'm happy, I'm content. But what if you could just be fearful? So that is this commitment. I want you to think about your commitment to yourself. My commitment has been, stop to be fearful. But the way to do that is to increase our awareness of the sensation in our body, because the body, the feeling is the is the cue to tell you if you radiate on fear or you radiate on love. It's your feeling. It's how you feel in this moment. It goes from an undeveloped mind to a developed mind. It comes from going from the brain, from a brain-based, logical-based, to operating and coming from the heart space. It's about being so intentional with how we show up and the words that we choose. It's about choosing, what's my note? Choosing what we believe to be true. What do we believe to be true? And it's not something that we learn in school. It's something we learn by learning from others who's been on this journey and already are on this journey. And I'm so glad that you're here. Really proud of you. You someone showed up and said, oh, I'm not sure I'm ready. Oh, it's okay. When you're ready, the tribe is here for you. But it's understanding that how we actually operate. And I think that collectively there is a movement going on, and we can put something really powerful together and push or pull people in. Because as much as we're pulling people in this community about leadership, it's as much as helping you elevate your life, advancing your careers, but really take your life and that life experience to the next level, helping you experience the fullest version of you. And if you're looking back, and I'm starting to really do that every morning and during the day, is that if this was a day well lived, how would I act? How would I act? A day well lived. Because when I turn 60 or 65 or 70, I would love to look back at a corporate life well lived, rather than saying, I worked 60 hours and maybe I got that. But it's not about the results. It's actually about how well did I live and how well did I navigate whatever challenge that showed up, and who have I become? And more people talk about that. It's not about success. It's about who we are becoming in the process. And as I was preparing for our session today, and then myself, oh, this is really, I'm ashamed. It's like, where did I start? Where was it even 4 years ago? Where was it even last year? Where was it 10 years ago? And why is it that I so dimmed my light? Not believing in myself, even though I sometimes knew that I had more experience than those in the room because of the big projects I've been responsible for. But I dimmed my light because of these powerful voices. And now we know these powerful voices, this is a mirror of how they struggle with it. But I didn't have those tools. So the more we learn these tools, the more we allow ourselves to just relax. And breathe. Oh, I can even feel it now. And be present. That's about being fearless. But someone have to be that curious and courageous to start embodying these tools in your own corporate world, so that you can set your own movements, ring in the water, start doing that in motion, and inspire other people that, wow, you can actually, rather than going in 2x mindset, you can actually slow down and allow yourself to ask those thought-provoking questions so that you can 10x not only the results, but as much as your life. and those around you. And I think that's what I'm really excited about. That taking 10xing our lifestyle, but taking 10xing how I feel in my body. And now I say, but I'll hold the space here. If I feel crap, then what matters how many big the results I deliver if I don't really feel relaxed inside. That's what matters to me. And when you feel relaxed, your environment can feel it, because that's vibration. And as I had a conversation with this, he's a speaker, presenter coach, and a previous actor. He said it's all about connecting with the audience. One thing is, and I think I can at least recall, one thing is that people say it, but if they don't embody the words, they don't mean it. Doesn't come from the heart. And that's why it's so important to be authentic and fearless, so that whenever you have an important message, maybe that requires restructuring, maybe it requires like, guys, you really now have to work on a very different mindset. If your words do not match the really being authentic, so that people can feel that you really mean it, there will forever be a gap. What Andrew talked about, and I really love that, is that we can actually, even though we say that we don't want to, most people focus on the how, which is why people work so crazy hours and still not achieve their biggest results, is because they don't have clarity on their why. Even corporate teams, departments do not know and own the why and where they want to go. But what this Andrew Eggleton is called is so beautiful said, if we can, or when we give life to the how, like really feel it, and then say, I want to be like his friend, he mentioned, like, I want to be home and I want to sit with a blanket with a hot cup of chocolate or red wine, whatever that is. But when we can feel that, how is it? How is it when you have success? How does that feel? When you own that feeling and the message vibrating on that same level of energy, then people start to follow you and accept. But most often, leaders come from the mind, the brain, and deliver very fearless message, but it's fear-based. And we don't create a following from a fear-based perspective. It's so important and that it only comes from within. It only comes from within. And that's where what we're also talking about is that of connecting, and only you can do that work. I'm here to help in the tools, but it's about slowing down and really recognizing and I want to have the conversation. What are those fears that you feel, that the reason why you haven't really showed up as how you wanted to show up today? So effortless. And the way to do that is that, what if there was no fear? How would you show up instead, whatever fear that was? And it has been, and it still is, I would say, a daily exercise for me to be aware of that, because we know fear is a limiting belief, is a lie. But what we tell ourselves, we get. So it's about being so aware of the inner thoughts and trusting the process that we can actually talk about tell ourselves a better feeling story. And don't believe in the past, what was, but believe in what is. Really believing from it. And I want to give an example. Some people were coming back and said they had some family commitments they had to prioritize to say. And then suddenly I could feel my body and wow, people are full. I'm going to catch up on the replay. And I could feel my fear, like this imposter, I'm not good enough. And it was residing in my body for a moment. And my entire shoulders were, and there's a when we can't talk, it's like what is that energy holding here? It's like, that's not how I want to feel. It's really not how I want to feel. So I could feel it, but it hasn't always been that I could feel my fear. But I was dancing with the fear to say, I choose to feel good. I choose to feel good. Rather than say, okay, they're going to catch up later. We're going to catch up later. That's amazing. But I choose to feel good about it because this is an important message. So it's really about slowing down on the fears that block you from really showing up. And before I open the floor, I want to take one tool, because it got me to connect with my fears, and maybe yours as well. Because often when we're in a room with big voices or C-suite, they often say, I know it. And then we just accept that as the answer. But it may not always be the answer. And here's why. It's called the 4 levels of awareness. So I'm going to mix it too. I also call it the 4 levels of competence. Level 1. We have 4 levels. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is unconscious competence. This is really interesting because you will, if you're really honest, you can map on your own assignments where you are on this 4 steps. Yeah. This is where I would say, okay, we have a new project, and you say, well, amazing, I can do it. You have no idea, but you're just jumping in, and I can do it, right? That is the unconscious competence. The next one, so here we are not knowing what is required. The next one is that we have the conscious unconscious incompetence. Here's what we know, that we don't know how to do it. We don't know how to do it. That is, we have the awareness. And oftentimes, that's where people start to say, they will often don't say, I don't know how to do it. They will oftentimes come with an excuse. Like, right? It's too hard, or I don't have time, because suddenly it's not a priority anyway. Because suddenly they know they don't know how to do it. Or I tried to do it. I even commented on, I was posting going on LinkedIn. I had like, I don't know, 200 likes. And that was this image I will try anyway. And I just had to like, okay, I'm not going to be liked in this one. But I said, we don't want to try, because that is subconscious that we allow ourselves to fail. And we tell us that's a mirror. We don't believe in ourselves. Never try. I mean, say we don't do it, or we do it, but we never try. So but here we try. Here, and that's tapping into the corporate afterwards. Here's the conscious and also the knowing. I know how to do it. It's the conscious competence. This is where the competence. And here's often what we hear. I know how to do it. But the last thing is that, and that comes the embodiment, and that's why embodiment. Here's the mastery. Unless somebody really embodies it, they only know. They haven't done enough reps to truly see the results. But you are here because that is your superpower. You've been there, you are here, but oftentimes we are having conversations with some C-suite people who say, I know it. How many times I read that book? I read the book. All right, but one thing that is consumption. How do you actually embody and apply that information into your life and into your practice so it changes how you do it? It's like, I've done this job for 20 years. Yes, you have done that 1 year for 20 years. If you haven't grown your mind, you are no more wiser. So, and that's where oftentimes we hear, and I hear, that I know all about it. That's good. But you still have a blind spot that you don't master it yet. And that's where the fearless and abundance leader comes in, and a trusted advisor. Until we understand this 4 levels of competency, awareness, we may sometimes dim our light. When people at a higher level say, I know all about it. Yeah. But do your results reflect your knowledge, or even more, your knowing? Yeah. And oftentimes, the results do not reflect because they haven't done enough mastery. Because when we're at mastery level, we don't even think about it. And that's why here I'm adding in another tool, and now you know those who look at this, what's replaying or recording are not aware of that. But this, from going from transactional to transformational. Transformation only happens when we embody what we pray. So those who know, they are still very much transactional oriented. This, as I was preparing for our day 1, this really stood out as when I started to be acted on, like fear-based action, fear-based questions, fear-based answers. Because when people say, I know, I would take that as the answer. Okay, I don't have to help you doing that. But they do not embody it. The results do not show. And even now, my body responding, wish I knew this when I was, for example, in IBM. which I knew this when I was serving like top tier people. But that's why allowing ourselves to really be fearless. And I heard something just before. What if we redefine success? Now my body's responding. Going from results to serving what they need. My body's whole like goosebumps. What if we redefine success? I truly believe that the more the movement gets done, or it gets really like spreading out, like we're going to redefine success. It's what they need. And then this is going to come really into play. Just want to open, I have some other things here. Reflections. I don't know if Ross is here, but yeah, but come Shannon.
So this, I've seen this model before, and every time I always get something really different out of it. And it makes so much sense at that conscious competence level. You know, I know how to do it at that space, right? Where like the C-suite kind of sits and they say, well, I know. But what they're really relying on as they hire people into their teams are subject matter experts who have mastery over it that can advise them on the best way to go. And you know, conversations that we've had in the past where fear will come into me of feeling intimidated, feeling small because I'm in a room with just such lofty titles, when in reality they don't really know. They know a little bit, but they don't know. And so that just kind of light bulb went off for me, like, oh yeah, okay, that's why I'm here. I'm here to serve them, and not to be a yes person, but I'm here to serve them in a way to help them understand it on a deeper level, to take it in the right direction. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
But without this knowing, this understanding of these different models, we will forever stay stuck. And that's also where this is very conceptual to a certain degree, because the results do not reflect the mastery. They know the concepts of that. They know it or something. I know the book. I've read it. Good. But how have you actually applied it in your personal leadership? Most people consume more than they create. And that and really got me to reflect when people say, I know it, but right. But what about your words and the energy that you vibrate on? Does it come from a wholehearted space where you say you more than know? You would say, I do it. And the more we, it is actually quite deep. Because it indicates, this is so deep, it indicates a different level of awareness. I know versus I do. Because also when we do, then we have a lot of learnings that we are happy to share with our team members, and though we pull up. But in this knowing phase, we cannot really articulate our learnings because it's still just concepts and we haven't, but it's not to say we can't, but people haven't slowed down to be so aware of what they do. If they would 10x their success, not 2x their success. This is deeper than I thought, actually.
May I?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, you know, with what I want to do outside of my normal regular 9 to 5 job, if you will, like even I've talked about that. I'm just just realizing that I'm at a place of between conscious incompetence and conscious competence. It's like I have very limited view on how to do what I want to do. It's like I think I know, I've consumed a lot of information, but to actually go out there and do it. And so now it's okay to allow other people to serve me and helping me gain that mastery. And I mean, basically up leveling to take inspired steps to get there instead of just doing this consumption. And I think that that has been what has been the fear, the intimidation, the insecurity has come in because I know that I haven't gotten to that very top level of that mastery piece of what I want to do. But I can do it. I will do it. I'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that insight because I've been through this and I'm on this journey or ladder again. Is that when building my business, wow, this is amazing. I can do a website, and so what? And then I had a conversation last week with an entrepreneur. Said, maybe I just say, I tried. What? It's like, then yeah, she was here. She is not aware of these steps. But that's why we start to reach out to people who are ahead of the game and say, how do we do that? But that's so we can apply that in whatever setting that is, because they let's do another transformation project. Woo! And then suddenly, shit, we can't do that. Or then when we kind of like take it like downsize the project and then okay we know it and then this is just a minimum viable solution coming out because there was no direction, right? And the same goes for you. But that's where like the two of us, we work together and say, okay, what have I learned and what do I continue to learn on this ladder? Like, but for example, the 20 years I was in change management and right sizing, like I could do it. I could do it by sleeping, and because I'd done it so many times. But it also stayed within my comfort zone, and that's why it starts to be challenging if we just operate within our comfort zone, and we don't take another project or we don't lean in to the edge. So that was mastery, but it didn't really. I wasn't really challenged. Now I'm learning it again on this awareness, and that's what I see here. The knowing versus the doing. I just wish somebody had called that out, even in my corporate world, because then when we ask good questions, all this is to help you become so relaxed in whatever conversation, so that you can ask those bold questions. And Shannon, just so I want to invite you in, and I'm glad that you are here, but I want to share with you like two things. In order, however, it's transactional to transformational, from the unconscious awareness or conscious awareness to embodiment, it requires a mindset shift. It requires a mindset shift. And that's where some people are ready to embody. You're here because you're ready to honestly see where are you right now in the mindset. And I want really that conversation, what is holding you back, or in terms of fear, or how you really want to show up with you being fearless. But that is the mindset. And I think that's what I mentioned, Project Olympus, but this is a broader training. So once to share it again, is that we were all born naked. And it just hit so beautifully home when I read this book, is that it says somewhere in this book, who is here? It was your parents who taught you that love is conditional.
What is the title of that book? Is that Conversations with God?
It's Conversation with God.
Okay, perfect. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, yeah. And that's where it's with the mindset shift. It's the only way forward is to really start to slowing down and be so curious about every belief that you hold. Because most of your beliefs come from your parents. And that's why also parenting is like conditional love. And as Shannon, I remember last year when my pen was flying in. It was a really interesting session we had together where I made that commitment to be unconditionally loving each and every day. I'm not there yet. I'm on it, but reading this book get me to understand why sometimes it can be so difficult to be unconditionally loving also at work. Because we've been taught from a very young age that there is a condition to love. And that also travels into our corporate life and as leaders. That actually, for me, is so deep how we see people, how we connect with people. If I only do this, if you do that for me, that's conditional collaboration. That is fear-based collaboration. And I was thinking about this, and the book is talking about this as well, about this mindset shift and really owning our worth and really allowing ourselves to own our feelings. And you probably can relate to this when you tell someone, I really love you. And you're afraid if that statement or declaration is not circled back to you. Whoosh, in my that's why we hold back. That's why we show up as being fearless. No, sorry, fearful and not fearless. That's why we attach to the outcome and not attached to the process. And we can take that to the corporate world, that what if we just share and said what we really felt because we want to serve without any fear at all. But we can because we have a choice how we want to show up. And in all this, it's being so conscious aware of the beliefs that you hold and that next version of you. What beliefs do you want to hold? That's number one. I'm curious about your insight there. Then I let me just, what is showing up for you as I share this, Shannon?
So it's making so much sense because truly, if you think about this from a spiritual standpoint, everybody may have a different belief about how you're created, a higher power, that sort of thing. But it's so true that oftentimes, especially in religion, people will assign, especially their biological fathers or the dads that have been in their lives, the same attributes as their creator, as their higher power. If you think about whether you want to call it the spirit, God, the universe, what have you. And so we assign our experiences, the emotions that we felt as a result of flawed love, right? Conditional love, that then becomes our standard for every person in this world. And it just makes so much sense because that's not how my belief, that's not how we were made. I believe that there is a God. I believe that that's what we were created from. And that love is so unconditional that it's just so much. It's so wonderful that it's hard for our own brains to grasp that. And so to live unconditionally is something to aspire to, but we have this history, right? And then that's what forms our beliefs. So we do get to choose to rewrite that story. We do get to choose to say, I am unconditionally loved. I am worthy. I am important, and not base it on very flawed human existence. Hopefully that made sense.
Yeah, I love it. Let's hold on to that, because then we go into the next one where, because it's easy said, right? It's easy to reflect, but still we get to really be so, grow our consciousness on how we show up, all the beliefs, all the things that we do, why we do what we do. But what if there were no fears? How would we do things instead? That is the journey. And it also requires us to become a different version. If we are not willing to let go of old beliefs and no longer serve, if we want to feel abundant, feel free, we will never move. Hold on what you just said, because I have gathered what I see across work I've done over the last couple of years, the 7 biggest mistakes or challenges that keep leaders stuck in the fear-based operational mindset, and really they're longing for abundance, more meaning in life, more fulfilling, just being there. And it's just, there's no, like, I just have the order here. I was reflecting on it. The first thing is that of adaptability. The adaptability is like a pole with this plus and minus. That's a less wanted one, where we adapt, where we conform, because that is how the culture is. We don't want to be too smart. We don't want to show up as like too elegant or like too arrogant, or whatever label we tell ourselves. So we adapt. But the thing is that when we adapt, we give up. It's about being integrity. That's a really important word I haven't really introduced. Everything here is about showing up as the highest power, like really being authentic. But when we bend the adaptability, we give power away and we adapt. The thing is that, again, it causes internal friction. And then you do not show up as the highest version of yourself. On the other side of the spectrum, that is that adaptability, and it has a different flavor to it, is to adapt. Who do you serve? You're not serving yourself. You actually understand that you are in that role to serve someone else. Has nothing to do with you, everything to do with those you serve. And that is a positive aspect of adaptability. Most I've seen over the years, and as I also my corporate and my own journey, we so much want to be that trusted advisor where we adapt and we serve, but we lower our we lower our light, we dim our light, we should play small, so we adapt to conform, and we have really mediocre results. So it's about this. That's really an interesting perspective of Paul when you talk about adaptability. Then I see this, and I've been all of these mistakes or challenges I've been through myself, is that of overthinking. Instead of hoping it, we don't have faith that what we do will work. So we keep overthinking, and you've probably been there, and I've been serving women who are just being overthinking and spending like 3 days on a presentation, or they maybe just in the head, overthink. The consequences are big. Not only do you waste time, mental energy on the overthinking. It has some big mental challenges, a cost when we overthink, but also you don't get any better results by overthinking. So that is a big green flag to be aware of. If you overthink, that's also fear-based action. And I've been there, like, as one of the things I really struggle with. Number 3 is that of perception of being, I mix that, of being arrogant or too smart. But really, we don't allow ourselves to stand in our power. I cannot ask that question. But who is to say that? Who is to judge that your question, perception of your question is wrong? Rather than owning, here's what's so important, own what you know. But people tend to see it again and again and again, that not addressing it, so you don't stand in your power. Way to be that trusted advisor and be fearless and abundant leader is to stand in your power with integrity, not with force, but with integrity. And then I think it's number 4. It is that of people, and this, I say, when we can start focus on success, is not delivering results, but really understanding what people need. This will be eliminated. People focus on the how, and they do not have clarity. And I see it again and again and again. And we've been taught in corporate and in school just to deliver. And most people do not take the time to get clear on what is necessary and then who they serve. It's a big mistake, and it really holds people back from achieving the biggest, their next promotion, their pay rise, the next big dream, because they're lacking clarity on what they want with their lives, even or with projects. What do we really, really want? Not just because corporate has this big fluffy thing. What is that strategy? And be so super clear on that. Most corporations do not take time to think about what they want. And what happens is that then people focus on data and spend so much time on over preparing for data. Are the data right? Are the concepts right? They know that it's right, but they never take time to ask what we want. And also, they forget to connect with how they want to serve. They override their own energy. How do I really want to show up? Suddenly it becomes a battle of who is right in this, right? Because I am the bride. I want this. This is my delivery. But how did we show up in the process? How fearlessly were we to challenge that perception? We really knew was wrong. Waste of time, waste of money, waste of people's energy. People get like change fatigue. What if we allowed ourselves to show up in the process? And then here, that's another big fear, is that of being visible and putting yourself out there are also some of the mistakes and fears and challenges I see, which keep people in their comfort zone and really showing up. and with integrity, being that fearless leader with abundant integrity, ask, what is it that you really need? But because they're afraid of being too smart, too arrogant, too friendly, too whatever, they have completely, or we lose power in how we advise. And we also lower the opportunity for even better and smarter decisions, because our fears control how we show up in the moment. So fear-based versus love, abundance-based action. And when we really understand, are you showing up from the highest level, highest thought, the highest vibration, the highest word? How would you then show up? What questions would you ask? Then your questions will change. The discussions will change. The strategy will change. Culture will change. Health, environment will change. There's so much power in connecting and really choosing on connecting with the fears, the underlying fears, the subconscious fears. So we go from fear-based leadership or scarcity leadership to abundance leadership or abundance leading. Reflections, and I'm curious where you are, but first reflections, Shanna.
I'm thinking, like, at every one of these challenges or mistakes that leaders make, I mean, at the core, yes, it's fear, but it just occurred to me, it's like really fear of what others think. In every one of these steps, it's truly being afraid of what people think of them. From the adaptability and conformity piece to overthinking. You want to be this perfectionist. Like I'm like identifying things in each stage in myself that it's like, what, at the core, it's just hitting me that, wow, this is really being scared of what other people think of me. Because I mean, we've talked about this often about how we want to show up, we want to do a great job, we want to deliver, we want to serve, but we hold back, and that doesn't happen because these stories that we're telling ourselves based on imperfect beginnings, based upon imperfect love, right, and communications throughout our lives, we're basing that on a lie. And so that's where that story can be reframed. It doesn't have to be this concern about what other people think. The concern should be, how am I serving to help all of us be better, to get a better result?
Could I chime in on that a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I in reflecting all of these discussions, to me, it feels like really the most firm relationship we all need to have with ourselves. And it's just so much harder to do all these great things in the outer world if you don't have a good relationship with yourself. And it occurs to me that, to be brave, to not, be shuddered by, as Shannon says, what other people think of us. So Lord knows that is, a huge factor in being bold in the workplace. We have to just give ourselves love first. Mm-hmm. And we have to be confident in who we are by loving ourselves. And I firmly believe that if we cannot give that to ourselves, we really can't give it to people. And to me, that is the linchpin in all of this.
It's so true.
Yeah.
And that's why we have these 2 days together. But it's first about understanding, like, and then be so open. And now my next question would be, where are you blocking yourself? What is your fears? Because it's so easy to say, just be more confident. But if we don't interconnect with how we show up today, and that fear-based, how do the fear-based acting, or why is it that as this conversation with God says, what is the sponsoring thought or the sponsoring fear, that of being liked, of being like seen as stupid, or seen as failure? Where does that fear come from?
Oh, it comes from rejection of some sort, right? You know, it has to. It pretty much comes from a life of rejection or some experience of rejection. So, to me, it's really a lesson in loving and accepting yourself, and knowing, knowing what you're capable of, and if sometimes when we try big things, new things, big things, yeah, maybe we won't get it 100% right, but it's okay. We tried, and we did it. We did it from a place of positivity, and did our best to, bring other people along. And I think the more you vibrate at a joyful level, positive level, recognizing, all the potential, discordance that can happen with other people, you do it anyway. And sometimes if your energy is strong enough, it can convert. So to me, all of this, when I go through all these exercises, I keep coming back to, if I don't have a good, firm relationship with myself and love myself enough to, be true to my dreams, to, put myself out there, all these things, then I'm going to come across this thing to people, or somehow not resonate, right? But if you're completely true with yourself, it just makes it easier. And I guess it's forgiveness. It's
and may I just push you there, because I think it's deeper than that. Because it's for me, it's easy to say it's love, but it's here about actually giving myself the permission to be worthy and to be powerful. And that's often where all the beliefs, that's why I'm so curious about, why are you stopping yourself? Because that, if we don't understand the inner thoughts that we think, that we really feel that I'm not good enough, then we have to tell ourselves, we have to work through who told us that. And then how, unless we are so aware, we vibrate on that level of energy. And how does that, I'm curious about that, because that's what this training, right? I'm so curious about you, Russ, as well. How does your fear show up in your leadership? And why? And what could you do differently?
Yeah, for me, it's fear in my leadership. I don't have a lot of fear in my leadership. It's more sometimes a hesitation, because I'm trying to read the other people, and I'm trying to align on energy. I'm trying to align on their goals, understand their goals really clearly. And oftentimes the people I work with, they they don't have as clear a picture of really what is needed. Then and what I'm going to tell them is sometimes a little bit unpopular, but I can help them bridge the gap. So I'm wanting to be this, like, joyful warrior, and I have to me, maybe I hesitate on reading them, and I don't want to misread them. So sometimes I'll go a little slow on that part. And also just, you kind of just have to let other people be who they are. And as you said, Camilla, realize that, sometimes they're kind of resonating on they don't really know everything they need to know, and yes, they need the expert to help guide them, and you have to believe in yourself and go for it.
Mhm.
So I'm accomplished enough that I know how to do these. I know how to do the work. To me, the challenge is more around doing it in a way with energy that brings the other people in. And that's
Yeah, it's not always easy to hear what you say for me, Ross.
okay.
Yeah.
Are you unable to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but and also if you can have turn on camera would be amazing. So, but what I heard was that something about you were trying to match the energy, and people do not already know what they want. But that's where, if I may give you that back, is that you're actually not standing in your power to actually mirror back with love that and ask them these deeper questions. That could be your growth project.
Yeah, no, yeah, I take it slow. I take it slow on that because I don't want to come on too strong, and that's a mistake I've made in the past. So I do take it a little slow, and sometimes, I think that's where I hold myself back. So anyway, it's really all about working with that energy. It's all about working with the energy in yourself, knowing where you are, and recognizing that they may be somewhere else that you can bring along anyway. So yeah.
And this what's really interesting is I don't want to come across as strong, as we talked about it earlier, and that's level 2 energy, right? So what is it that's really the pushy thing? So so it's not coaching right now, but I'm really curious. Like maybe think about that, and I want to go. Maybe you know that question already or the answer, but what is the fear behind that?
Well, the fear is only that I have no problem being strong. It has been a default mechanism in the past, and I have no problem. I'm very comfortable, but it's not really helpful to bring people along that way. It's better to be. It's better to be, to earn to influence them in a way that doesn't create resistance or friction. So I've learned that through the years, and so I've been trying to soften a bit. And I think one of my gaps has been coming on too strong as like a defense mechanism, or maybe that's what I learned as a vision of strength. It's more of a male approach, right? Male energy, but so maybe the gap is leaning in a little bit more and being comfortable with my female energy in a professional way. It could be that, just in a nutshell.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. And I love that, because that's a defense mechanism. So, right. So that comes across, because we don't want to come across as strong, then maybe in bed, but we can still feel in that energy because we're not coming from that fearless, authentic way of showing up. But the more we work on that, the more we relax. And I trust also, I'm really following my intuition, my inner guidance right now, Russ, is that the more the more inner balance you have, because your inner world is mirrored in your outer world. Absolutely. And the more relaxed you are within, the more amazing your outer world is.
Exactly.
Yeah. So thanks for sharing. Yeah. Shannon, what shows up for you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I definitely see that there's a challenge with with all 7 of these issues. And when I think about, like I said before, when I think about what is kind of the root of all of this, for me, it's that, of course it's fear, but I think it's that rejection piece that ties along in with what other people think. And so if I come across as adaptable, then I want to be liked versus serving. If I am overthinking, then I'm not believing in myself. So like I recognize myself in each and every one of these aspects, but I also think it's hopeful to me, because recognizing it, being aware of it, when you talk about being consciously aware, it helps me just to stop, to pause and say, okay, why am I pulling back? Why am I not wanting to raise my voice? Or why am I wanting to bulldoze through this meeting? And pause and say, okay, this isn't about me. And that was the one thing that you had said. This isn't about me, you, right? This is about who we're serving. And I can very much lose sight of that at times when the focus comes to me, and then I start to feel fearful. So that's really standing out to me too.
Mm. And I love you bring that up, because, where's my pen? Is that if we come from the fear-based mindsets, the limited mindset where we are conscious, that's a transactional oriented, it's me, then we will never be able to serve. And that's where remember these ladies, and that's the fulfillment equation where many people go wrong. We don't learn it in school, and corporate does not operate like this. Is this, it's you, it's who are the people, the person you serve, what's that the next, and then the results. And I changed this. Now all of you here in the room, we work together. Those in the recording, they're new. But normally I would call it impact. But that's really an inside-out perspective. But even more interesting is the results that you create for the person. And so unless we are we have to work through our fears in order to be fearless, an abundant leader, because then we don't come from this place inside out. What's that? From here to out there, but we really come from this person we serve, and then I would come from your place, and I say, all right, what tools do work for me, or what questions is important to ask, rather than me actually doing the highway. I know how to do it. Listen, you just do it like this. And it requires to be fearless. It really requires, that is a mindset shift that we had before. Allowing ourselves, and I really loved how you brought that up, Shannon, is that when we are unsure whether we deliver a good enough result, we more come from me delivering and proving that I'm good enough than actually daring to ask, what is it that you truly want? Fear of rejection, fear of not being good enough, because we want to prove that we are worth it. But what if we shifted that equation? Like we're shifting redefining success. It's not the results, but it's actually what they want. Because then we have very different results. But most people do not know what they want, even. So we have different results. And that's that redefining how we see the success in a bit bigger picture. It's so, I mean, my body is like so profound impact we can create. But it requires us to, if that is a wall, how do I draw a wall? Bricks, 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 bricks. I would push through the fears. That we learn to dance with those fears. But it requires to slow so much down and be curious about every emotion, every thought that we tell, and these beliefs, like what the book says, it comes from your parents. It comes from my parents, what they believe to be true. It is their most, I can't remember how many percentages, but maybe 80% of your belief system comes from your parents. In terms of success, family, relationships, how you do you. You don't do you on your terms. You do you on their terms. But when we are really allow ourselves to claim back, reclaim that, that's where the abundance come in, the freedom to be you. Who are you? And then there's also in the book and other books is that it all starts with you. Who are you at the core? We have a very powerful meditation tomorrow. Feature a client that who are you? And who do you want to become when you have all that? Freedom, the abundance. Most of people do not go around in the world and feel happy. They blame everything else, why they are unconditionally happy or why it's like this. But as leaders, coming from that highest, the book also talks about coming from that highest level of the highest thought. Like if you feel an abundance, what is say? We flip the script. It's so easy now to say, we flip the script. But in the moment, what is that highest thought? I want to think about this. And that's where the work from Napoleon Hill and Neville Goddard, and I can't remember the other guy, but there are some the trio on all this. And then Dr. Joe Dispenza, Bob Proctor, believing from it. But we often start to question, is this good enough? That's where the overthinking comes in. And we spiral downwards. And we stop believing in ourselves. So we sabotage our own success.
If I could just say something, it occurred to me.
Will you go on camera?
I'm in the middle of doing something, so I can't. So I think I wonder if part of this feeling of rejection thing is, yes, it's intertwined with worth, self-worth, but it's also a rejection of these old beliefs we've had, which if they come from family, this is our primal social network that is so fundamental to, you know, human beings, right? To be wanted, to belong, to be part of the tribe. It's rejecting that very primal part of ourselves, or a core part of ourselves that came from our upbringing. So it's like rejection of family too. Rejection of some of those, it can feel that way. Now I agree. You do not have to reject the other people, just reject the ways. But it's an act of independence in a way, you know, and I think it could be kind of hard to break out of these patterns because we're just, it's just that, yeah, it's like rejection of the family unit. Be bold enough to be able to reject those old beliefs. They don't have to serve you anymore. So anyway, I yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
No, but it's really, really important. And I'm glad they brought that up, because most of our beliefs and how we show up is based on other people's opinions and what they want us to do so that they feel safe, so that they feel proud. So like, if, for example, as more I do this, I'm also aware of how I show up as a parent. So do this so I am happy, do this so I am proud, right? But so as from childhood, we are being taught, no one wants to feel rejected.
Right.
No one. And that's where at least Dr. Joe, my boy is responding now, Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, until the age of 35, it is easier to rewire our belief systems. But at the age of 35 plus, it is automated pilots. That's why we're doing this deep inner work, but it's so worth it. And the more young people we know, I say, come on, go on this journey, because easy it is for you to create a life that you want. So, but the fear of rejection from family, from friends, from professional networking settings, social network, maybe a local community, where we feel that we all want to feel part of the tribe. It comes like from in our ancient side. We want to feel that we belong. If we don't belong, we feel like it's depression, or you don't want to be alone. But good luck that a good news is that it's so easy to reconnect with people who are on that other journey. But of like abundance. But abundance never come in when we fear the rejection. Then that's fear-based acting. And this fear of rejection, as I was prepping myself for this has been like the biggest fear that got to how I showed up when I was overthinking. I got my first burnout in my very first job. I mean, I was so afraid, but still my mom would say, you don't cry. And I wouldn't cry. But I wouldn't be rejected. And again, in the US, it was like the rejection of my mom, not being acknowledged by my mom. I'm 50. How do I? Must be 30, 54. So I was like, wow, but still, I'm still healing some inner childhood stuff. So that's why, unless we do that deep inner work, nothing will shift. That's why this is so important. In order for us to become fearless leader, we have to really, it's easy to say, I just love ourselves. No, but we have to connect with those fears and flip them and work through them, press through them, because they're lies. It's other people. And this way, the best thing I can say is that if I was my mom, don't do that, because you wouldn't make me, I would be ashamed. Okay, then that was fear of rejection. So I better do like her, she wanted me to do, but really it was not me. This is me. Then I feel freedom. Then I feel abundance. Then I live the full expression of my life. But until I learned and connected with that, I wasn't me. I was the version of me who saw that appreciation and running for love, and from other people's, seeking other people's approval of who I was, but I was never that real version. I'm this real version of me. Does that make sense? Are you tracking? Shanna?
I was just going to make the point that it's almost, I just think of it and akin to, breaking familial toxic behaviors, like breaking that cycle. So, and this is an extreme example, but if you think about a parent, a grandparent, great grandparent who were alcoholics, and then it comes to your generation, you stop doing that because you see how destructive it is. So as an example, you're not going to say to Elizabeth Sophia, don't cry. You're going to encourage her and parent her very differently than the way you were parented. And so that's where it comes in for me, that I think about, how was I parented? What were the things that I heard that I believed in? Are they true? And I can reframe that and be different for me and for my family.
I love that. Yeah. But though I think it goes deeper, in terms of how we show up as leaders. Because one thing is as a family, but also as leaders and when people come, because some more there's a movement going on that's more these soft values that I'm not corporate for years. I don't want to soft values, but there's emotional intelligence and really when why are you scared? And then rather not ignoring that, saying what are your biggest fears? But it requires us to hold the space for people and don't judge people. It's so easy to judge in corporate. And then we act from fear-based because we don't know how to hold the space for people. But if we want to be that abundant leader who love people up to help them unleash their full potential, it's also about seeing them who they are. Whatever shows up for them in the moment, frustration or fear, don't worry about that. I'll be really curious. Why are you thinking that thought? Rather than just say, oh, it's easy, we can do it, because it's a green flag that they are concerned. And even though you tell them something, their inner world is still not believing in themselves. So will never perform to the level you expect because they don't believe in themselves. So the fearlessness, being an abundant leader, this is just vibrate on a bigger scale. When it comes to being that amazing leader, holding the space for people, but also asking those bold questions with love, with integrity. If we feel that I don't want to come across as strong, that's mirroring back that something is not in our inner alignment. And until we've just so in flow states, not happy, but flow and dare to be us, just you. Yeah, just to be you. That's something we can work on. And in that transformation, the more you allow yourself to be you, the more authentic you are, the more you are present to ask questions, and the faster you will build trusted relationships that truly matter, not just superficial relationship, but really genuine relationships. We have to work through that. The good thing is that the movement is there. We are here today, more people are watching the recording afterwards, and in other tribes as well. But we still have like this family tree. Well, this is most of the world, 99%, right? Your job is to start creating a branch. And not because you don't want to come across as strong, because that's wrong, because then you haven't done that deep inner work yet. We're talking about the old personality, the new personality. Tomorrow, I'm going to share even more. But we want to start creating that path. Even though we are breaking or we are violating all the other ways of showing up in corporate, which is doing like everyone else mirrors or models. And they model other people because they act from fear-based. This acts from love, from abundance. And it requires faith, It requires not curiosity also, but the courage to do it. And that's where most people stop. And I have faith and courage. Because courage is to do it with fear anyway. Because you believe from it. And I have not always had the faith in what I was doing. As I was even looking back, the last 4 years, I started up something and people were involved, but I was doubting myself. And I started something else, and people were involved. But that trusting, really trusting yourself and just continue, even though someone else says it's not going to work. It's about trusting and aligning yourself with what you want to create. But we are not from corporate used to say, just have faith in this. That is not how corporate works. And if we don't see results, then how many times have I not stopped the project? How many times have we recalibrated? How many times have I, instead of committee meetings, right? Everyone got fear-based. This is not going to work. All right, we're going to do it again. But we have, curious is to, without knowing where. I think I definitely shared that with you, Sharon. If you don't know where you want to go, you're going to end up somewhere. The question is just where. That sentence is so important. So if we do not know where we want to go, whatever strategy, and this is really clear, whatever strategy we want to work on is going to fail because it's going to take us somewhere. Projects are going to fail, products are going to fail, da-da-da-da-da. Reorgs, how many reorgs haven't we seen in pharma the last 10 years? It's massive. But then when we know where we want to go, then we slow down and then we have the faith that actually we believe from it. And then we have a curious enough to slow down and then, okay, what is that fear all about? Breaking through that limiting belief, a pause and redirect. But it comes by really trusting that faith, the faith, because, and I think, I can't remember whether it was with you or someone else, but I said for years, and that comes, maybe you remember this movie, it was really, that touched me, the color, the purple color, or the color of purple, I was crying, right? So I had, my hope is always green. But we cannot hope, it's like try. Because if I come from hope, I come from lack. So we want to come from faith. We have faith in this, and that's where we want to 10x. So that's why we can 10x it. That's why we continue to very quickly connect with our fears because we know where we want to go, and then we come up to mastery. That's how the top 1% operates. And they fail fast. I haven't, how many times haven't I really shamefully said, we fail fast. But what does that mean? I'm redefining what success is. Redefining what does fail fast mean? It means we know where we want to go, but if we're taking one step, and there are some things that we can do different, we haven't got the results, then we redirect, but we're still going there. We still know where we're going to go. And if there's some fears, we're dancing with those fears. Fearlessness and abundance and freedom. So there's a lot of, hopefully it makes sense, and let me know if you're not tracking. But there's so much stuff we can add when we talk about being truly fearless. So much, I mean, the results you're gonna make, ladies, massive when you start believing from yourself and feeling worthy.
Yeah, I'm thinking about how, and I'm just going to say corporate America, but my experience in corporate America, how we're so tied to strategy and data, and what are the results going to be. The discussion around why doesn't really happen so often. It's like, this is what we're going to do. But to bring that, maybe the top decision makers know why, but the rest of the company doesn't understand why. And so there's a missing communication. And then, then you start to get into some of these other challenges and mistakes around the data, overthinking, spending more time on the presentation, spending more time on, going to the board and trying to get their buy-in, trying to anticipate those tough questions that they may ask. But oftentimes the leaders don't really understand what they're doing and where they're going to end up. And I love what you said about you're going to go somewhere, but if you really don't have this, if you're not aware, you're going to end up somewhere, but it may not be where you want to be. And I'm seeing that play out live with several things right now in my day-to-day. And it's like, oh, this is why that's happening. It's just kind of, this awareness of, oh, this is why this isn't working. This is why there's conflict on the team. This is why we can't make a decision. So it's pretty fascinating to see that. And I guess because of course, you want everybody to get on the same page so that we can be super successful on a team. But I do think that if you have just one person that can come in, be fearless, understand the why, talk about it, ask questions to get to where you want to go, that can be infectious in a good way, where other people can jump onto that bandwagon, which in my mind, that would be the hope, that would be the strategy, that would be where the faith comes in, that other people are going to come along.
Shannon, I think that one of the reasons the why, you say it's often shared just amongst the upper, the upper administration. I totally see that. But I also think sometimes, or I've experienced sometimes, that like the corporate values are not really the same as what the executives and the board are wanting to achieve. So I think there's that disconnection. Sometimes the greater why that they put out as corporate vision is really not good, in other words, right? It's not authentic. So therefore, everything that cascades from that can be a little bit challenging too, as you so well mentioned there.
So true. And it's an amazing project for you as trusted advisor, and have those bold, authentic conversations. Because if we're here to serve, we're here to really call it out with love. So right now, what is that one? And I've been there, and I think with Russia, I've been in so many corporations, but billboards, especially in pharma. And I don't know why. I haven't seen any, it's kind of become connected better with the brands and the BP shell. But in the pharma thing, there were so many billboards, but I couldn't relate to that. And I started really wondering, why is it that nobody's able to articulate that big vision to daily operation? And the only reason as no science, is that they have not been able, they do not embody that. Because embodiment means that you live and breathe it, and you're the role model. And most people do not embody it. They talk about it, but they do not embody it. And that's where we have an amazing opportunity to allow ourselves to be that fearless leader. And in the right setting, ask, What if we started to embody that? How would that look like? How would that feel in the organization? How would that culture change if we had people first? I don't know about you, where you are, but I hear people first as a corporate value. And even for some of the organizations that are really loud on LinkedIn on people first, they actually start to reach out. So there must be something not whole in this people first. So that could be an interesting conversation. What if we were part of that strategic board? What if we started to embody that? What would shift? Because if nothing shifts, we do not embody it. I was thinking about your four letter words, four words, value, Shanna, the other day. Right? What if? So it's very easy to spot where other people are on this embodiment and awareness, and also where you are when it comes to your area of responsibility. How do you embody what you want to or need? I don't like the need, because need is lower level of energy. But at work, those values, how do you embody those values? And if it's challenging you, why are those values challenging you? Is it because they are conflicting I've been in serving corporations that have values that was in direct conflict with my own values. And it was very, very hard to serve that organization. And I started to say no, because how it was embodied in that department was not how I wanted. And that's why I started to really own my own values. And the same, that's power as well, to be fearless, own the power of no. But most people do not dare to say no, because what if? So they rather say yes. I would love some of you, maybe Manuel, I don't know if you're here tomorrow, but I know there's Shannon, you're here. Let's see how many people are we in tomorrow. It's going to be interesting. But I love the first hour tomorrow, we're diving even deeper on being fearless, because it does require a mindset shift. Gonna share with you some of the transformation I've done, and lately over the last 4 weeks, how I have leveled up. And that transformation, it has to be like, feel so scary, like so not logical, like you do things that you've never done before. Diving in on that, I have an amazing meditation to take you to that next level of years, where you can even get higher on that level with spotlight clients and some more training and some opportunities as well. And I would love for you to think about, where are you on this journey of embodiment? What is the biggest fear that maybe today that has shown up that held you back from stepping into that fearless, abundant leader where you had an overflow of energy? What was that? Because if there's no overflow of energy, there's fear-based. So curious about that, because we're here to help you unlock mastermind. And this tomorrow. And it's 12 noon. I'm sorry, ladies, for the I get to learn that you are coming next. You're shifting clocks on Saturday. Yeah. So that's what I had for today. Any final reflections or remarks before we say goodbye? Sure.
Just this was great. I really appreciate this. It gave me a lot of other things to think about, as you always do. I do have to drop get ready for my next meeting, so I'm going to say goodbye now. But it was so nice to see everyone, and it was a great conversation. I appreciate it.
Yeah, see you tomorrow. So thanks,
Okay,
Shannon.
sounds good.
Okay, we
Bye.
close. Hey, cheers, bye. Manuel, any reflections or Ross?
I have indeed plenty of reflection, but I was really happy to hear Shannon and Rose also share things that are really top of my mind. So I feel very much alike. And with same kind of adaptations, I think efforts to fit the room or the people. But what are we leaving when we're doing that? And is there any other way we can approach relationship with others and serve them? But the point for me was more, I was having in my mind, should I be serving the same way senior leaders in my organization and people who report to me or even lower in that organization? How can I do that in a consistent way?
How could you do that?
And as you say, as being the same person, the true one, but as Rose mentioned, as I tend to be someone really direct, I also got that feedback. So I've worked on my style, and probably that makes me a different person and maybe not the natural one. So, yeah, so reflection for myself.
That's a reflection. I would say that as you evolve from being a direct version, I actually think that you're evolving into a more abundant and a flow person, where you're connecting with who you truly are at the core. That's my experience. Letting go of the fear. Think about that. Are you joining us tomorrow?
Nope.
Have a call now, but send me a WhatsApp or so and reflect on that so we can continue on this. It's important work for you as well, where you are right now.
Thank you.
Ross, any reflections?
I think I think this was really good. It just the reflection is that it's like a revolution within yourself, and yes, you have to be comfortable with it. You have to be ready for that journey, and in the process of your own internal revolution, you actually can you can help others shift as well, or you recognize that, like, not everybody, your revolution might take you on a slightly different path than the path you've been on, and that's okay too, because as long as you're being true to yourself along the way, I think you'll be, we'll end up in a good place. But you have to trust yourself and be true to yourself.
Yeah. Speaker, it's closer to your mic.
Oh, sorry. I think when I speak softly, it doesn't come across for whatever reason. So, yeah, I was saying it's a revolution within yourself is really what this is, and you have to be comfortable with that.
Yeah, and I love that, because that is about what I wrote down. Be comfortable, and you have to be ready. But you are ready. You're already doing that, which means that my body is responding now. When you're in room, right? That first of all, why you're being triggered, so you're coming across a maybe a bit more stronger. But I think that's, and it's all on me. But I think it's a protection mechanism, because you're not that when you're on one-on-one. You're just relaxed. So that is your true calling. That's your soul when you're truly relaxed. Your soul, when we are either come from fear or from love and abundance. And we come from love and abundance, we don't embody any fear. We're just relaxed and happy, and we're in a safe space. But when we feel that we're not in a safe space, or we've been in an uncomfortable space for way too long and have been there, then that we have conditioned our body and our mind to act like that. But you have these tools, and here's what I would love for you as well, Russ. Then you have tools, and then you go in and assess how other people react. And then you can start help them on their journey whenever they're ready. I see you were going off mute, so share.
Oh no, I just I went back on mute. But yes, it's I hear what you're saying. It's all good.
Yeah. So so good. Remember, hope versus faith. When we hope versus trust the process. When you trust the process, my shoulders are down. I'm so present. But if I don't, and I come from heart, but if I don't trust the process, if I'm start to question myself, I go in my head and I'm so much controlling what I say. And then may come up and more strong or anything else, right? So that is the process of being a fearless person and really enjoying abundance in life, which equals no stress, just happiness, freedom, oof, and gratitude for this. Thanks for joining. I appreciate you being here. As always, share on, circle back to me of your insight and your fear and how you want to work on that. Like Emmanuel on the coming across a bit too strong, or how would you do that? And what it was, maybe that is a reflection. What's the reflection? Or what is the sponsoring thought or sponsoring fear? Maybe that could be interesting. And Ross, I hope to see you tomorrow at noon.
Okay,
Thank
sounds
you.
good. Thank you.
Okay,
Goodbye.
thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.